Hello friends, my name is David Clay and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to give you the meaning, of mystical meaning, the interpretation and meaning of saying number 40 from the Gospel of Thomas. I want to say something very straightforward to you first though before we get into the saying number 40 is I want to congratulate you. I'm going to start congratulating you all on each time you watch one of these videos, because what this means is, there's just not that many people in this world that are interested in the Gospel of Thomas, or for that matter, any of the Nag Hammadi manuscripts, the so-called Gnostic manuscripts that were discovered in 1945 in the Egyptian desert. But if you're one of those people, and you must be, or why else would you be watching this video, then it means something very special about you. It means you're awakening. You're awakening to your own divine consciousness. Now, you may not think so. You may think that you're just curious, that you've read it or you've read some of the sayings and you're curious about what they meant. Well, your curiosity is there for a reason. It means you're interested. It means you're awakening to a higher consciousness. So I want to congratulate you. Thank you for watching the video. And I hope you watch this one all the way through, because these videos are very valuable. They give you information that you need. If you're awakening, you need this information. So stick with me on this. All right, let's go into the Gospel of Thomas. I want to say something first, though, that you've got to understand that the Gospel of Thomas, for the longest time, for the history of the church, it was outlawed in, I believe, about the 4th century. In the 4th century, it was outlawed, and there were no copies of it. I mean, you could be put to death for having a copy of it. You could certainly be excommunicated, and it just wasn't allowed. So no one, copies just disappeared. All we had was scraps and remnants. And certain quotes by different church fathers over the years, for the longest time until 1945. 1945, it was discovered in the Egyptian desert, where in the 4th century, 1700, almost 1700 years ago, someone buried these, the text, the Nag Hammadi, what's called now the Nag Hammadi text, or the Gnostic text, although they're all not Gnostic in my opinion. And I don't think the Gospel of Thomas, the Gnostics may have used the Gospel of Thomas, but I don't think it is a Gnostic gospel. I think it's the earliest Christian gospel there is. I think a lot of scholars would agree with that. But we didn't have a whole copy of it. Now we have it. It's a pristine copy. No one has messed with it in 1,600 years. We know the Bible and the New Testament has been messed with many, many times. Many times. Dr. Bart Ehrman at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, he's one of the world's foremost experts on New Testament Greek and the New Testament, and spent many years in the Vatican researching the New Testament, probably as many or more so than anyone else. He's the veritable expert, they call. Plus, he's a bestseller on the New York Times bestseller list, his book, Misquoting Jesus. And in that, he explains and shows the different places. Of course, I know a lot of the fundamentalist churches have a fit when you mention Dr. Bart Ehrman. They go to pieces because he's very pointed in what he says. And he is the expert. He is the veritable expert. And, of course, they think the Bible hasn't been tampered with, but it has been. The Catholic Church did so, sometimes accidentally. Monks copying made mistakes. But the thing about the Gospel of Thomas, as we have it now, that was brought out of the ground in 1945, it slept there. It slept there for almost 1,600 years. And it was not disturbed, it's not been tampered with. So we know this is the earliest form, and I'm certain of that. This is the earliest form of Christianity. I have it on good authority from some authorities that I have to respect. I won't go into explanation about that because I'm not sure you would quite believe it. So I'll save that for another day. Anyway, let me interpret the gospel, the saying number 40 to you. Let me read it first. If you have a copy of the Gospel of Thomas, you might want to read along with me. Saying number 40. Jesus said, "A grapevine has been planted apart from the Father. Since it is not strong, it will be pulled up by its root and will perish." This is really talking about two things. As a matter of fact, it could have said two grapevines have been planted, but it said one, because they both have to do with this world, the space-time continuum that we live in, the physical world. It's planted apart from the Father. You've got to understand that whatever was created by God, God has influence over. So there's nothing that can be totally apart from the Father unless the Father decrees such. And when this world was created and the spirit of man was created, he gave man free will. Therefore, he is apart from the Father, except when man is open to the Father and allows the Spirit to come within him. Now, the Gospel of Thomas in St. 40 is not the only place where this is said. St. Paul quotes that. St. Paul makes that point too. Paul gets a lot of bad press for starting mainstream Christianity, and I'm not sure that's quite so. Paul was a mystic. Paul was a mystic first and foremost. When you really get into reading the letters of Paul and the various books, you really see, and especially if you read it in the original Greek. Now, I know everybody doesn't read original ancient Greek, but some people it's worth learning. It's worth learning to read it in the original Greek because it seems to say it entirely different. English is not. English comes out of German. It's the Germanic language, basically, in its root. Of course, it had a lot of French and Latin influence, but German is not a very spiritual language, and English is therefore not a very spiritual oriented language. Nothing against the Germans and nothing against the English. It's just the language is not that way. Ancient Greek was. Let me read to you Romans 8:7, and you'll see what I'm talking about the separation where God puts man in this world and the influence of this world separate from himself. In Romans 8:7, it says, St. Paul said, because the carnal mind, of course, that's the mind of man, when man is not focused on God, when man is focused on this world, nothing bad, it's just it's the carnal mind, the fleshly mind. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God. Now, would you have ever thought in your life that there's something that's not subject to the law of God? Well, initially there's not. Everything's subject to the law of God because God is the creator. But he set man in this world and man's spirit with free will separate and apart so man could make his own decisions. So man would be totally, even though man has within him the very Spirit of God, man is God. This is one of the main themes of the Gospel of Thomas. Man, you are God because God is expressed through you. But when you're functioning as a human, of course, you're not God. You're separate and apart, as Paul is making the case here. For it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be, Paul says. Neither indeed can be, because God decreed it from the very beginning that this is the way it would be. So I hope this has enlightened you some. If you have any questions, feel free to write to me on the YouTube channel there. You've got our address where you can write to us at Gmail, secretsofthomas@gmail.com. Also, I want to encourage you to help us with our website. We need some financial support. I've been putting a lot into this financially myself, and I feel like if you're getting value out of this, and if you're learning something different out of this, give something back in return. We don't care whether it's $5 a month or whatever, a dollar a month, or $100 a month, or $1,000 a month. You know what you can afford, and you know what you're getting out of this. Help us so that we can do more videos, so we can be more prolific in our production of videos. It's to your advantage. Thanks. I'll see you next time.